So our final speaker of the night is named Alexis Dean, and she is the founder of the Dovetail community. And Alexis also has 3 fun facts. So Alexis has lived and worked in 10 countries in 10 years. She skinny dipped in the Arctic Ocean, she surfed around the world, and she swam with crocs in Borneo. But she still thinks that Canada is the best country to call home. Alexis, come on up here and share your fuck up.
I'm going to take you to the jungle with me. So about 5 years ago at this time, I was in the jungle in Thailand at the end of a 10-day silent meditation retreat. And I was walking to my last meditation of the 10-day retreat, and I was thinking to myself, where is my sign? Where is the sign that I have been waiting for 10 days? I had been sitting in meditation, waiting for God or Buddha or someone or something to tell me what I was supposed to do next with my life. And the sign, it hadn't come. So I was walking to the final meditation, and finally, something exciting happened. A firefly flew right up into my face. And I stuck my finger out, and the firefly actually landed on my finger. And I was like, this is it? And before I could even figure out what the sign was, it was gone. And it wasn't really a sign, and it didn't really tell me anything, and I got nothing from that. But I got a lot from the meditation retreat. Because the next day when I left, I went to a beach on Koh Tao with some friends, and I sat on the beach, and I had a beer. I did a little reflecting about my life, and I realized that I didn't need to keep waiting for a sign, that I didn't need to wait for someone or something to tell me that I was enough, that I had enough going for me, that I could do the thing that I thought maybe deep inside of me I really wanted to do. And so that, skipped one, brings us to my first fuck up. It was a 32-year-long semi-fuck up. It was 32 years of my life that I spent feeling like I was just not enough. Like I was not enough to start a business. And that was something that I had been holding in myself for 32 years. And so finally that day on that beach, I realized that I didn't need to wait for that sign, that I didn't need someone else to tell me that I could do it, that I was ready. And so I came back to Canada and I started my business. So I started a corporate team building and training company. This is the kind of fun stuff we do. And it grew, and over the first couple of years, we started to get bigger clients and started to work with big banks and Fortune 100s, and things were looking really jazzy and exciting on the outside. And I was always happy like this. And I was always super grateful like this. And everything was always super awesome. Except underneath, it was not awesome at all. Underneath, I was terribly, terribly alone. So I know there's some entrepreneurs in this room, and you've probably experienced this, but entrepreneurial loneliness is a real thing. So I sought out a community, and I wasn't sure where to go, so I looked for big events that were happening, and I found one that I thought sort of resonated with me. It took place at a summer camp, and there were lots of dudes, and I was single, so I thought, hey, this is going to be great for me. And I didn't want to just go to the event. I wanted to be part of it. So I signed on to be their volunteer numero uno. And I thought I would become the founder's right-hand gal. Or so I thought I could become. And so I was building my business full-time, and I was working behind the scenes in their business. And I was building their community, and I brought them some of their biggest speakers, and I brought them some of their biggest sponsors, and I brought them some volunteers, and I brought them even a team of masseuses to massage them for free for the weekend. I really went above and beyond trying to prove that I belonged right there with them. Oh, really out of order. At a seat at their table. And when it came time to run the event, they showed up with a group of their guy friends, and they gave them walkie-talkies and golf carts and bicycles, and I still had my sneakers. And I, despite doing all that work, despite putting myself out and making every connection I possibly could for them, despite thinking that I could really prove my way to a seat at that table, that seat was not reserved for me, and it wasn't going to happen. So my second major F-up was that I had not set boundaries for myself. Can anybody relate to this? Yeah. It's a problem for a lot of us. So I had put myself out and done everything I possibly could, and it didn't matter. No matter what I did, because I hadn't set boundaries for myself, I wasn't going to earn a seat there at that table. So I came home from that event, and I went back to work, and every day I would step from my office at the end of the day, walk down the stairs in the building, walk across the street, go down in the subway train, take the subway home, and go home to my life and try to be grateful and try to look up and try to think positively and try to do all the things that everyone says you're supposed to do. And I did that for a long time, and I still kept on that happy face. And the really crazy thing about this story is that I am not the first person tonight to tell it. But there was a day when I walked down the steps in my office, and I walked across the street, and I looked at the top of those steps, and I couldn't walk down them. Because I knew that if I walked down them, that I was going to walk down those steps, walk through the turnstile, and walk onto those train tracks. And the third F-up is not an F-up that I made by feeling that way. The F'd up thing is that entrepreneurial suicide is 50% more likely than the regular population. That this is an epidemic. So isolation, yes, there was a lot I could have done to remove that isolation, but mental health is not something that is an F-up. It's something that is F'd up. So I didn't take the subway home that day. I took an Uber. And when I got home, I looked up therapists, and I got myself into therapy, and I surrounded myself with my old friends, and things started to get a little bit better. But I knew that in the long run, just going to therapy and spending time with my oldest friends probably wasn't going to cut it. I needed to know some people that were like me. I needed real friends who understood the challenges of growing a business, of wanting to scale, of being wildly ambitious, and I knew that I wasn't going to find them just anywhere. And so rather than looking for a seat at another table, I decided to build my own. So I put together a weekend that I called Dovetail, which is a symbol of interconnection. And I invited 50 women from across North America, 50 women entrepreneurs. And we started with what I thought would just be a weekend. And that weekend has grown into a full community of women. We've now hosted 3 of our summits. We've hosted pop-ups in different cities across North America. We host dinners every couple months. And now we're hosting a big summer camp at Camp Tamaqua in Algonquin Park this fall. That's our community at our last Tofino Summit. So I think the biggest lesson that I learned from all of this was that by surrounding myself with people who can understand me, by building those deep relationships, I know that I can conquer anything. And some of my F-ups took me to some really, really dark places, but this incredible community of women has brought me the most light in my life. Some of them are in this room still, I think, which is kind of cool.
Awesome. Alexis, thank you so much for sharing your story. And that's awesome that some of your community members are here as well supporting. So I'm sure there's going to be some great questions for Alexis. Let's open it up.
Okay, if there's not. It's getting late. I know everyone wants to go home.
I'm sure there's some questions about actually building your business.
Hey.
How did you get these people to come to your event? Like when you asked 50 strangers, like was it through LinkedIn or you work in the DMs or what's going on here?
I was a bit of a stalker, and I still kind of am. So if you ever hear from me, it's because someone's told me something great. I had a little bit of a strategy. Actually, I teach this strategy when I run workshops. I'm not much of a big speaker. I facilitate. So like in my other business, I'm really good at like interacting that way. So I do workshops on this. But as far as building a community goes, my recommendation there and the thing that I did was I started with a core group of pillar women. So I knew that those pillar women, that if I could get them in the door, that I could then approach them to get introductions to their friends or say like, so-and-so is coming. Don't you want to hang out with so-and-so for the weekend? Because she's way more awesome than I am. So I knew that, that I could kind of bring people in that way. So I started with 5 pillar women, and then I got them to invite their friends, and I reached out to people that might be attracted by spending a weekend with them and really grew it from there. But I also became a little bit of a stalker, and I just sent out like crazy DM videos to people. There are people that are luckily now friends who were like, yeah, you were a little crazy, but I knew what you were doing was really awesome, and I wanted to be part of it because you were so enthusiastic about it. Thanks for asking.
Hi.
Hi.
So my question is around community building, because it's something that a lot of people want to do, especially for me as a business owner. I don't just want to have a product, I want to also have a community. So from your perspective and your experience, what would be some like best practices, some activities maybe that could help business owners build their own communities?
Yeah, definitely. So I think there are a lot of events happening that are calling themselves communities, but the people are not actually interacting beyond like the event itself or beyond other things that are happening among the group. And so for me, building a community means actually having your participants interact, not only when they're with you on site, but having them interact beyond that. And not being afraid of letting them take some of that, not control, but almost control of the group, like letting them have their WhatsApp groups and have the events that they want to host. Like our ladies from the get-go, like after that first weekend, whenever a woman owns a vineyard, she's like, I want to have everybody come to the vineyard. And I was kind of like, at first I was like, oh no, like that power is going to get away and then they're going to do their own thing and they won't come with me. But really, total honesty, but really by allowing that and embracing it, they started to feel like they were really part of the community. Like they really had a role in it and they were valued and they're important and the community wouldn't be the same if they didn't do that. So when our ladies are like, I'm going to host a barbecue, I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. And like when other people say, you know, I want to host something at the vineyard, I'm coming. I'm the first one to sign up. So giving them a chance to really be part of it has been huge for me. Thanks.
Much for your story. It's really emotional, and I could feel that you went through a lot. And you mentioned that you realized that you would never reserve the seat at that table. What made you think that way? Like, why? Why
did I feel like I wouldn't get a seat at that table in particular? Because I hustled my face off for them, and I got a lot of bupkis from it. So it just wasn't happening. And I like the people as human beings. They're not bad people. I just don't think that they realized sort of what was happening there. And maybe, you know, I'm not saying maybe, I'm saying for real, a lot of that was on me. I didn't set my own boundaries. I didn't make it clear what I really wanted from that. I just hustled my face off thinking like, well, they're going to see how hard I'm working, aren't they? And they didn't. Thanks, y'all.
Awesome. Thank you so much.